X with some very special guests. I'm going to share my screen real quick while we do this. So for those of you that are tuning in today, thank you. I appreciate it very much. The first few minutes is going to be myself. Then we're going to bring on our special guest, Mercedes Bent from Lightspeed Ventures. Then we're going to bring on a elite group of founders to kind of basically talk about where the world's going, what they're building. Those founders have sold companies, taken them public, raised 30 million, raised 17 million in the past. Like there's an amazing group. And so we'll learn a lot. And then at the end, I have a little gift for anyone that wants to tune in. So Money Cage is the live series that I have been building on X. It's inspired by Shark Tank. And just for those of you that don't know me, I started by moving to San Francisco about 10 years ago and doing something at Draper University. Draper University was one of the best things ever. It's ran by a venture capitalist named Tim Draper, who's a huge Bitcoin head, for those of you that know. That was where I actually met one of the founders and investors who's going to be here today, Larry, and he ended up being my first angel investor. So very cool, kind of full circle 10-year program. But I ended up starting a fund in my early 20s, ended up scouting deals for General Catalyst, which is a comparable, billions of dollar fund in San Francisco. Moved to London, raised some capital for my own business. That one was funded with 5 million, worked at Meta a little bit. And then now I've just been kind of doing my own thing and making money as we go. If you get a chance, please retweet. This takes me literally like hours of my life to plan this. I do it all for everyone that's watching and for the founders and for the VCs. Like it's not a lot of time to retweet. I really appreciate it. You're also going to get some cool stuff afterwards. And so I'll tell you all about that afterwards. Okay. Our first episode was with Itamar Novick from Recursive Ventures. Itamar actually sent me Rec Room, which was one of the $1 billion startups that I met back when they were like pre-seed stage. So he's one of the best investors in my network. He was our very first episode. We talked about the VC mindset, how he looks at deals. Then we brought on Sean from Republic, which is a crowdfunding platform that raised $3 billion. They were a few weeks ago. Then we talked about crypto last week. And today, finally, we are excited to welcome Mercedes. Mercedes, I'm going to bring you on up here. Welcome in. Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So your background is pretty insane. I've known you for 10 years, but I didn't actually know like the extent of what you've done as far as Stanford, Harvard, Federal Reserve, Goldman Sachs. I mean, Birthright Africa, you're on the board there, General Assembly, you name it. So maybe just so everyone has context today, you can give a quick introduction to yourself. And specifically maybe talk about like how we first met and how our relationship has kind of evolved and as your careers evolved, because I also don't know what you've been up to and it'd be cool to get a quick catch up.
Yeah. So share my background. Just to go back to the beginning, I'm the daughter of pretty entrepreneurial parents. So I think I was given a pretty lucky position in life. My parents started video streaming and radio frequency identification companies in the 90s and 2000s. So I grew up around tech. I thought everybody was an entrepreneur when I grew up. I thought everybody just discussed business ideas at the dinner table every night. We always did that. And when my parents would be like, well, if you were to introduce a furry talking robot, like what would you, where would you sell it? And like, what would be the main selling points? And like, what would you price it at? And like, we would talk about that for hours. And then like 2 years later, Furby came out. And I was like, wow, we thought about this. So that was a super lucky upbringing. I was born in North Carolina. Parents used to work in the Research Triangle Park. And then we moved out to Cupertino. And I was out in the Valley from kind of kindergarten until I went back to the East Coast. And I went to Harvard for undergrad. My dad had taught me coding, mostly VBA when I was in high school. And I started out comp sci there. But then there was this little thing called the Great Financial Crisis going on when I was in college. And I just thought that was super fascinating. The world was changing for really crazy reasons. And I worked at the Federal Reserve, both the DC Fed and the Boston Fed, with some of my Harvard professors in 2009. And then I did Goldman Sachs for a couple of years, also capital markets, but it was kind of soul sucking a little bit. So I was like, how do I get back to the tech world, back being like my upbringing? And 2012 to 2019, I did all startup stuff. We met during that time. I first worked at General Assembly education startup, helped grow them from 2 million to 100 million in revenue. I was leading their largest revenue generating division, the coding bootcamp arm. Wow. And then I worked in virtual reality out on the West Coast, SF in LA, at Upload. That was a really amazing foray into the frontier space. And it gave me a ton of good lessons. I always joke the best lesson I got out of it was investing in Nvidia in 2017.
You know what's funny is my best friend in the world, he's made so much money for NVIDIA, and he goes, you just used to tell me in like 2017 that you were buying it, and I wish I listened to myself. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I looked around and I was like, I don't know if the app layer is ready yet, but you know what's really cool is these GPUs. So I did actually buy some and doubled down before the AI wave, which is good too.
Awesome.
But yeah, then I did Stanford. I was a founder briefly of a death care startup. So
And so when you went from, I mean, I met you Upload. So
yeah,
my context of like your career kind of ends once you joined Lightspeed. So you directly joined them as a partner
yep,
right off the bat. Okay, so that's amazing.
yep,
So they said like, all right, Mercedes, we see it. You're a superstar. Come in here, do some deals. And you've
yeah.
done almost 6 years at Lightspeed now. I think you've been
Yeah,
there. And
almost 6 years now,
yeah.
and did a lot of different things there. I invested in consumer fintech, SaaS, AI-enabled services, invested in two companies, low single-digit million ARR. One of them was 2 million ARR when I invested, and both are now doing 300 million plus top line, kind of like GAAP calendar year revenue, and both will be, billion-dollar exits. So knock on wood, I've had some investing success, although they're not done yet. they're still on their way. And I just had an amazing experience learning about the asset class of venture capital
Mm-hmm.
and how to partner with founders, what exceptional and greatness looks like, so many other things.
Okay, that's a good segue to what I want to take us to, which is exceptional and greatness on the founder side. So this is, just to give context, we initially started this as a smart glasses pitch day. I've had some trouble finding, meta companies that are actively allowed to talk publicly on what they're doing with meta smart glasses, yada, yada, yada. So we kind of shifted towards, okay, let's just find the best founders that are doing the coolest things, and then let's bring them into the room. So I want to introduce first Thomas Suarez here, and I'll bring him up in a minute. This kid, I met him a year ago. I think he's 14 years old in this top right corner, and he's building AR glasses. So he's been doing this for like a long time. He's worn smart glasses for years straight. Nobody does that, and he did it. He raised from Lightspeed when he was like 16 years old or something insane, and he's currently raised 5 million and is building a hardware AR company. It's about as crazy as it gets, and he's either Palmer Luckey or Thomas Suarez. We're not sure. So Thomas, come on up here, bud. And do you want to give maybe just like real quick 30-second, don't go too deep into what you're building? And then the way I want to do this is we have 6 different founders that are waiting, all top founders. We want to have Mercedes both kind of like help the founders. Everyone watching can learn how she thinks about it. And then also, if Mercedes feels there's the right deal or something she can massage out of the deal, then she'll, follow up afterwards. So Thomas, you want to give a brief 30-second intro to yourself?
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Don. Great to meet you, Mercedes. Yeah, I mean, at Raven, we're building a full wearable computing platform. So it's a pair of augmented reality glasses plus a new operating system that's designed to handle spatial interactions between objects into the future. Really what we're focused on for V1 is a very lightweight pair of glasses that you can wear anytime, anywhere. They give contextual information, AI assistant. It's really just designed to be there when you need it and gone out of the way when you don't.
Awesome. Thank you. Mercedes, I'm sure, hardware has become a little bigger of a trend in VC recently, confirm that. But can you maybe talk about that and then ask some questions towards Thomas of how you look at deals when you're a VC in this context?
Yeah, hardware, and especially via humanoid robotics, is becoming much more popular. And Thomas, great to meet you. I just was looking at Lightspeed's investment in you from 2017. So great to connect with someone who's been in the Lightspeed family. And yeah, I guess I want to understand always more a little bit around what's the killer use case or the initial audience that you think is best suited to this. Normally it's a combination of like a set of features that meets an audience need, and really curious how you envision that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think long term that this device can really, hit a mass market consumer, demographic. For us, we're really targeting kind of more of a creative audience and makers. These are people who, a lot of the same people who bought the Macintosh earlier in the day, and can get a lot of value out of the tool part of it. I think glasses are, particularly smart glasses with a display and with eye tracking and some kind of onboard compute, are really good at giving contextual information. For example, being able to pin up useful information. I think that's one of the most powerful aspects of a device like this. Notifications, photos, taking photos and videos, all that stuff is great, and it's really useful from a day-to-day perspective. But being able to pin up useful information, whether you're playing guitar and you want to have a guitar tab up there, or building IKEA furniture and you want to have that reference material up, the reference material part, I think, is itself kind of a killer app for a lot of different use cases. And then beyond that, it's all of the things that augmented reality and spatial computing are going to enable kind of into the next few years, which is a full smartphone replacement. I don't think the smartphone replacements or I don't think glasses are really a smartphone replacement right now. We need to start by building kind of a smartwatch of AR that does a few things really, really well, then build that kind of iPhone of AR later.
Super helpful. Yeah. So the pinned display is really kind of the killer feature in your mind, in terms of just like a static display that you don't need hands for. And I can buy that for a lot of different use cases. I always think navigation would be especially useful for this. And some type of, I always watch people when they have their phone out and they turn this way, they don't know which way to go, the less spatially adept of us. And so I guess, like, when I think about what you've had to build to make this feasible, and the question I always like to ask is, what did you have to figure out that was exceptionally difficult from a technical standpoint or other, of that you learned and what is bringing this to market, that's kind of an insight about kind of the building of it you have that no one else has, or it might also present as why your solution is differentiated from the rest of the market. But that sounds like a too kind of consultancy version of the question.
Yeah. There's a few different aspects to it. I think with any wearable computer, like, you have to wear it. We try to dog food our prototypes, and we try to understand kind of from a firsthand perspective, what is it actually like to wear devices like this? And what you'll find in a lot of incumbent labs is that everything's very locked down, and so you're not actually able to test the devices outside the lab. That's antithetical to what you need to do with this type of device. And so we end up with devices that are, focus on different things. Like historically, over the past few years, devices have really gone like large field of view. And so the industry has thought, okay, large field of view is really what matters. When in reality, I think for an all-day wear device, a lower field of view is actually a better initial step to mass adoption. But there's a lot of different things that need to be figured out. But I think there's the term that I would use is kind of balance. It's like balance of all of these different aspects of the device. Balance of how much compute do you put on there? Balance of what type of input is on there? How much data are you giving to the user? Like, where is the display in that field of view? All of these things have to be solved, and they have to be solved to a very high fidelity, all at the same time. And so this is actually one of the reasons to build this company was that, with the previous company, Teleportal, we actually found that the software really wasn't there to do the full spatial, even some of these more head-up display augmented reality interactions, because some devices got input well, did input well.
Thomas, let me cut in real quick.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure we get through everyone properly. Okay, so since we're short on time, Mercedes, obviously there's like a million questions you would want to ask, but just so everyone can learn how you think about this stuff, because those are great questions you asked. Thomas is building a weird idea. Obviously, it's hardware, even harder. From a VC's perspective, so everyone gets something out of this. When you see this, how do you think about going forward with exploring this opportunity as an investor? And maybe it's not, right for you, and you can say that, but like, how would the right investor kind of like get to know Thomas over time and take this to a point where they can actually help him? Because he's going to need a lot more than the $5 million they've raised so far to do hardware correctly.
Yeah, I think, as an investor, I develop my need to believes, and there's typically only 2 or 3. You don't want to boil the ocean. You want to minimize and 80-20 the important things. I think some of the things you need to believe are that one, you can actually get the distribution of people wearing it. Like the hardest part in headset mounted things is in getting people to actually wear them for long periods of time. And so distribution is a very long chain of events, but everything from the marketing of it to the actual use cases that they see involved in it, the retention of how long they wear it for, there's comfort, there's stuff in the design of the hardware, but there's ultimately the question is like, are they putting it on their face? That's kind of step one. And is it at a price point that makes sense for them to even purchase and get it onto their face? So that's kind of like one thing I would need to believe. And then if that condition was met, then the next thing I care about on top of that is whether or not the kind of use cases, which was my first question, are strong enough for long usage, for kind of retentive usage. If people treat it like Apple Vision Pro, where it was a gimmick, it was really cool to put on, and a lot of people put it on their faces, but it was uncomfortable and it was heavy and it was like isolating. It's not going to get that. Like people used it once and put it in the closet. So those are kind of like the two key needs and beliefs, and a lot of them intersect with the two questions I was asking.
Awesome. Yeah, Thomas, I think to her point around use case, like would have loved to heard something on AI. I feel like to me, that's what I'm looking for out of these glasses. But what do we know? But thank you very much. Mercedes, I'll connect you to after as well if you want. But yeah, Thomas, what age were you when you first raised from Lightspeed?
That was 17, I believe.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully we can do that again then. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to take you off camera and move on to
Thanks.
Larry. Very cool. All right. So we'll have Larry, then Anna, then Nanea. So Mercedes, to give you some context with Larry here. Larry, you probably met him way back in the day. He was an investor in Upload. He was my largest LP in my venture fund. He took his first company public that he started in the late 90s. He was also an angel in Adify, incredible background, incredible entrepreneur. And we were texting the other day, and he's not going to build a company. He's past that point, but he's looking for basically like the right kind of incubation for this idea he has. I've seen Larry take multiple companies from zero to the $100 million in years. He is one of the best founders and best angels out there. Don't call him an angel though. If you ask him or look at his website, he's just a really, really strong operator. So Larry, I'll let you do a quick intro to yourself. And then this one will be less of a pitch and more of a like, hey, here's two really strong people that both know how to finance and build companies. And is there something we can create together?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, Don. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, you pretty much summed it up. I started my career as a corporate lawyer. I got a little bored of that and co-founded an early internet advertising company, which brought me to Silicon Valley. I stayed and co-founded another company or two. And then for the last probably 12 or so years, I've been an early stage investor. What I like doing the most is being often the first check-in or one of the very, very first checks, and really helping founders to incubate an idea and get initial customers, start to get the product moving towards product market fit, and raising more funding, maybe a proper seed round, and even up to an A round, where I'm involved. And I've done that a few times now, and it's super rewarding. It's great when it works. It's heartbreaking when it doesn't, because there's a lot more kind of involvement than just like putting a check into a deal and hoping for the best. So that's what I love to do. And I'm currently working in that mode with a company that's doing kind of an enterprise AI application. The company's based in India. The founders, pretty global. They're doing business in India, Dubai, and now increasingly the United States. It's going very well. And so we've been building agents for just a little over 2 years, actually. And so I've climbed a pretty good learning curve in terms of that side of the world. And I started thinking a few months ago about consumer AI and really looking at, how's this going? And I love consumer things. It's kind of my passion. So I started looking and thinking about how will AI affect things that we do as consumers? shopping, dating, travel, the kinds of things that are typical, prototypical consumer applications. And one of the things that struck me was that I noticed that when I was using foundation models, large language models like Claude or ChatGPT or any of those, that I was often adding to my prompt. I was also often adding a qualifier, answer as if X, because the answers typically are consensus kinds of answers, and LLMs are really consensus machines. I mean, that's what they're designed to do. And so I started thinking about contexts where people would not want a consensus answer. They would want an answer that's very specific from a very particular point of view. So if you could imagine something like, I'm trying to develop a political slogan for a candidate, it would be it's very important whether or not I'm getting a response based on, this is the way a Democrat from Massachusetts would think about it, or a Republican from Texas, or whatever it might be. There's places where the diversity of opinion and viewpoint is really the key thing. And it struck me that one of the areas where that's the case is in something like things that involve taste. So things like fashion, where taste is very divergent and very disparate, and kind of lives at the edges. It's not else we'd all wear the same uniform every day, and we don't. So people want to identify, their specific taste profile, their specific aesthetic viewpoint, and express that in the way they dress. Fashion's a big, $1.8 trillion global industry. So there's something to this idea that people want to express, through their clothing, through their apparel, through their accessories, etc. And so I came up with a notion that I call 1KA for 1,000 agents. And the idea is to be able to train agents, individual agents, to have individual aesthetic profiles, and then pair those with consumers so that a consumer can be matched with an agent that basically gets that consumer's taste profile and becomes kind of a hybrid of a fashion consultant or style consultant, influencer, and wing person. Through messaging or through an app, but through kind of daily touches. Here's a celebrity look you might like, or what did you think of this? Or, kind of very lightweight sort of communication to develop a relationship and trust with the consumer, and where the consumer's feeling like this agent really gets their style, really gets what they want, and behave much the same way a fashion or style consultant behaves, which is they understand the customer's style profile, what they love. They try to find clothing and accessories and things that meet that, and then they'll also try to present things that may be extended a little bit and are a little bit outside of the comfort zone. And you see that again and again.
Larry, can I hop in there first? Thank you very much. So Mercedes. I mean, Larry, all the background in the world, has built so many big companies, has funded so many top founders. He texted me this idea, and frankly, it went a little bit over my head. So I'm curious how you think about this as, someone that's living in this top 1% Silicon Valley world. And I'd be really curious to know how you think about, the way he's thinking about this from a technical standpoint and also the consumer wrapper standpoint.
I think it's a real category. There's a lot of companies in this kind of agentic shopping area already. Daydream, Doji, Cozy, Outset, Ulta, Daily, Arete. There's a bunch, but I think they're all taking very different approaches. What I liked about Larry's approach to it was that you started with the fundamental innovation that the new technology has given us. LLMs, what are they good at? You said LLMs are consensus machines, and role playing is an area that has been identified as making LLMs perform better. And there's a subjectivity on the user recipient's point, but there's also an element of it does focus them. And so I totally agree with that as an insight. And then I also agree with the insight that there are areas like fashion where there isn't really a ton of consensus about what exactly looks good. And so you can leverage what the model is uniquely good at, which is to push it in a direction to have an opinion from one perspective, and you can perfectly match a lot of people's preferences. I think a lot of times what you're trying to do in consumer investing and also when you're charging money is to just perfectly match supply to demand, and it's hard to do so when you have to give one generic product to a lot of people, and LLMs allow you to do the opposite, give a lot of products to a lot of people, aka personalization. So I think you mix in personalization plus role playing. So that to me sounds like a really good premise for a place to start. And then I think my next few questions would be around, what does that look like? Like, what's the wedge product that you need to start with? Is it targeted at people who are fashion conscious, or is it targeted at people who are fashion illiterate, and you are going to almost Duolingo gamify it, like teach them and atomatize the elements of what fashion looks like for them? There's very different places you could start. And then are you teaching and showing them? Are you trying to orient towards shopping? A lot of these tools have tried to orient towards shopping, and I don't know if low intent discovery to making a purchase is the best way to tie together those two elements. I see a lot of teams doing that, and I'm like, I think you've mixed together two different intent levels that don't really make sense together. So the proof is in the pudding, but I think it's a really interesting area to be building in.
Yes, thank you. Those are great insights. So I'm a little hesitant to be too specific about the specific initial application because I really want a founder to decide that. My thinking would be the idea that I kind of like is an accessorizer app where somebody could upload a photo of their outfit and the agent would accessorize, because I think accessories that's an immediate hook. I think accessories can make an outfit. And they're often not thought about as much. I don't like the direct shopping idea, to be honest. I've looked at some of the ones you've mentioned, and I don't think they deliver magic. I think this has to deliver magic. I think if you look at the way consumers behave today, fashion influencers, cosmetic influencers are a huge category. People love to follow and look and see looks and things. And so I think starting there is an important place to start.
Love the accessories idea as a wedge of where to start. I haven't seen anyone doing that, and I completely agree with you. People should be able to upload all their photos of them in lots of different outfits, and accessories will make the outfit. And they're also lower priced items that are easier to buy, and people
And
feel
usually
like
size.
One size, you can mix and match them into different things. You get high use case, high frequency repeat. A lot of people don't want to buy these expensive, high fashion items because it's like, well, I'm going to wear it once and then everyone saw me in it, so I can't wear it again. Repeatability is super low. So
exactly.
that's very
and high margin typically.
Yeah, and high margin. Yeah, it's a very good wedge.
I'll just say for everyone watching, I think this is something really interesting to observe. This is something that took me a while. Like when I used to come up with business ideas, I'd come up with the idea, right? And then distribution and then team. And now that I've learned, and clearly Larry knows this, you start with like a general idea direction, but really it's just the team and then distribution and then the idea. And so it's cool to see how Larry's, knows how this works. And Larry also just, for everyone watching, he used to always tell me like, just wander in the woods and like be happy with it and enjoy that process. And like every startup starts with just wandering for a year or two. So this is his wandering. Maybe the three of us do this together. Who knows? Okay. All right. Larry, thank you very much. I'll probably, you can hop off if you want to stay. I'll probably bring you in and out because you've also funded a lot of deals. Actually, you want to stay for Anna's pitch?
Yeah, I'll stay, sure.
All right, cool. All right, Anna, you ready? If not, too bad. You're coming up here. All right. Hello. Hey. All right, so I'll get some context on Anna. Anna, you got 2-for-1 special here with Mercedes and Larry. Larry's a prominent angel. Mercedes, as you know, one of the best investors out there. So Anna has a really unique perspective on, I guess, kind of starts in VR like a lot of us, but has moved towards AI like a lot of us. So Anna's last business had basically, I'll let her tell the stories, but has enabled 15 million copies sold of children's books, I believe. She can tell you about the tech stack. That business raised some money. She was a Forbes 30 under a few years ago, and now is moving on to Openway AI. So Anna, do you want to come up here and give a quick context to your background? Also,
Yeah.
if she went to Harvard, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure,
cool.
because you missed one part. So
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah. So glad to be here. So quickly about me. So I'm a repeatable founder, and yeah, you're right. So my first company in the tech was about to creation augmented reality books for children, and it's really amazing because when you see how children reacted, where AR characters comes to life, it's really amazing. And we sold 15 million copies, it's true. And I not be shame, I can say that it's most popular consumer products line with augmented reality in the world. And it's still selling in 75 countries in 27 languages. And I can say that million children learn ABCs using our books. So, but it's not all. After that, we launched a no-code platform, My Web AR, that allows to create AR experience for everyone. And it's through no code, and it has also a lot of AI features, but mostly from the generative side. And our audience, it's really non-tech people like designers, marketers, small business owners, or some specialists from corporates. And our platform used by Google, Meta, McDonald's, Nasdaq, Siemens, and a lot of SMBs in the world. So, but we Openway stories starting when the last year we reached a daily new sign-ups around 2,000 per day from B2B sectors and from the different countries. And it was sign-ups in my augmented reality platform, but I started to explore how I can engage them and how I can work with them. And like a CEO, I tried to find something around me, but it was not successful. And we started to create our AI agent who started to communicate with our clients and our customers. And when I started to discuss about it with founders network around me, everyone told me like, I want to have a same in my business. And I say, okay, it sounds like a standalone project. And I started to create Openway. And because I'm from marketing and business development side, I try to understand not how to make it different, but how to make it really effective for business and for founders like me. Because honestly, I'm really AI native person. I have a lot of AI tools in my deck, but sometimes I feel not like a founder. I feel myself like a secretary of my AI tools because every day by day, I just put data from these to these and see result. And it's so annoying because I spend time to manage the data, but I don't have time to think about my business. So, an Openway, just two sentence. So, an Openway AI is a growth hacker that handle the whole customer life cycle from the first touch of website to closing deals. And think about it like you have AI who really care about your business and handle all data, all business context about your startup, about your client, about your communications in one hand and one brain, and build a personalized communications, visuals, text, emails, I don't know, voice communications using just only this data. And it, she, or he, I don't know, just think how to grow your business like your partner. And you can go sleep or play with your children, your business will continue grow. So this is what I do right now.
Awesome. Okay, so Openway AI is basically a co-founder you can subscribe to that grows your business for you. And I'll pass the microphone to Mercedes.
I prefer to call it growth hacker because co-founder usually cares about a lot of things in your business. Growth hacker understand what is it different and what helpful in different data. So
awesome. Okay, awesome. Super helpful. All right, I'm gonna pass the microphone to Mercedes. Mercedes, I'll let you take it away from here. Anna, thank you very much for that context. Very cool and very helpful. And again, because of your track record with this last business, I'm quite sure this thing will scale. It's just a matter of how big. And so, Mercedes, go for it.
I think you're building in a smart area in terms of helping SMBs get distribution. That's just one of the core kind of jobs to be done for them every single day. And there's a lot of companies from, going way back, people like Angie's List and things like Groupa and other companies that were able to kind of do that. So I think like that's a good area to be starting with. And the question is just like, how much is there a human in the loop, or is it actually fully kind of automated? That's what I end up having questions about.
Sorry, say again. Just the last question.
Oh, the last part being how much of it is fully automated versus how much human in the loop? Like, is it authenticating and jumping into services, or are you having to kind of press yes and help it? Like, for example, if it's logging into Facebook advertising, are you able to just send it to go do that whole spree, or do you have to log into Facebook, approve the copy? I mean, I don't know which areas, but I'm just
great question. So I can say that it's like step by step. Like in the North Star, if we want to build like real autonomously AI go-to-market agent who can handle and carry your business without you, but it's layer by layer, because sometimes people wanted to see what's going on, and we can discuss a lot about like management risk, safety, conversations, and others. So usually we provide our customers opportunities to choose how we can handle this AI. So sometimes we can approve and they can be involved in the process, but ideally we wanted to understand how AI can do it without human. I give you example, like we call it ever generative website. So usually when you have your website, you need to analyze how people use it, how your visitors use it, and make a decision when you want to change. Imagine that you have AI who does it without you, and your website ever changes, depends how your visitors use it, and this AI just think how to make conversions rate higher and higher with every step. And in this case, you don't need to be human involved. You just need to I wanted to make my new website and see what's going on. But in the communication side, when we communicate with real customers, of course, people still want to be involved. But honestly, I think it's just a question of time.
Larry, did you have a thought there?
I have a question. The insights that are coming in from enterprise companies that are building AI for enterprises to do, large companies to do these kinds of things, whether it's customer support or lead management or outbound marketing, they're finding that they require a great deal of customization, and they have to use forward deployed engineers on site, typically for an extended period of time, to really deal with edge cases and a lot of subtleties and kind of special cases for their customers. And of course, the hope is to build that into the model, the economics of the offering. And I just wondered, how are you feeling about the ability to have like a self-serve, off-the-shelf, small business focused application that does all of these things and works for many different kinds of businesses?
So I feel myself perfect. You shortly. So, but seriously, so honestly, sometimes it's like a little tricky question, because when you put out of box like SMBs or enterprise grade, you think just only about how to build a grow partner who care about all data from the whole business context. And honestly, in this case, it really doesn't matter it's enterprise or it's SMBs, because the big difference is about how many data and how many specialists in any role you have. I think about SMBs for two reasons. So the first, because SMBs is a segment when people really can find tools and something that can be similar with enterprise power, because we don't have like a lot of resources and hours, but we still want to grow their businesses. And the second, in my previous company, I worked really close with different SMBs. And today we have community more than 100,000 founders who are eager to adopt our new tech. And I understand how my, it's not a tool, like how my AI, let's call like this, will be really helpful for them. I mean, for me, it's like a founder, it's a balance, what I can do for myself, like founder, and what I can provide to my partners, my client, my customers, whatever, to help them and share the same value for their business at all. I mean, like it's a balance between market, impact, and the technology.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Anna, I'm gonna bring Nanea. Nanea, start prepping. But one last question for Anna here to Mercedes. Mercedes, so Anna has this huge advantage, obviously, because of her last business, because of all these founders she knows. From a VC, do you look at her business as this is a hyperscale business, or this is something she can just like make a ton of money for herself personally? How do you look at this type of a company, or is it just too early to really know? Obviously the future.
I think that depends on what the end vision is. I mean, OpenWay definitely has the starts of something that could be a hyperscale. I mean, you could argue this is a wedge to a Shopify-like business. It just depends what the vision is and how you end up building it out. So yeah, I think it could be interesting.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna bring you up or off here and bring Nanea up. All right, we got our final home stretch. We saved the most funded for last, I would say.
Thank you.
All right, Larry, I'm gonna push you off camera for this one. She's well past the angel round, but feel free to stay if you want.
It's nice to meet Larry as well. Nice to meet you, Mercedes.
So Mercedes, I think, you're obviously looking more probably for pre-seed stuff. Nanea's a little past that, but I'll give some context here because I think she has one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard. Just everything. So Nanea has really become like the leader in XR for mental health, wellness, and things of that sort on VR. But she has always, from day one, been talking about AI and data, like way before AI was a thing. She's been saying this to me. And so, she did a good job of becoming basically one of the leading apps in all of XR. They've raised, I think, 30 million. She can correct me. But now is clearly the time where she takes all this structured or unstructured data she's been collecting and all of the insights that she's gained and kind of the recurring revenue base that she's built and basically now scale this to AI on any device anywhere. That's my context. Nanea, I'll let you continue talking, but I thought maybe this.
Great. I'm going to bring you along on all of these talks. That's great. Let me share my screen and tell you a little bit about Trip. So one of the things we have been, hold on, there we go, excited about is, and I'm going to keep it in so I can jump around a little bit and just hit the high points on it. Our whole approach is how do we use technology in a way that can support your mental and emotional well-being, but do it in a more quantified way and do it preemptively, not waiting until you have a mental health diagnosis. Think of it more like how we're using data streams and AI to support our physical health. There's an emotional health version of that. We have always been focused on cross-platform. I think one of the key reasons why we have such strong retention numbers in VR, which has that problem that you mentioned, Mercedes, of, use it once, it goes in the closet. Trip is definitely an outlier. 50% of our paying MAUs have been using our app 12 months or longer. And it's one of the reasons why we're one of the top, frequently in the top 50 apps in all categories on VR devices, but also definitely we're the leader in the wellness category. So what we've been working on now, we launched with our mobile app. It was more of a companion app that you could use to track data and upload personal images into the VR sessions. Now we've been adding features to it very aggressively. And the first thing we launched was our AI on it, Kokua. We've also been working with all of the AR glass companies. We were one of the first wellness apps on Nreal, now Xreal. Qualcomm's an investor in Trip. And I have my very cool Snap developer jacket. We've got a cool Snap experience that's in finalization for their
Wait,
launch.
Nanea, let's show that off. Wait, that's a cool jacket. Yeah.
It's got a Ghostface Chilla.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
so
Cool.
I'm very proud of that.
Very cool.
They have the coolest swag. So one of the things that we just launched that we're really excited about, and as Don mentioned, we're definitely the leader in spatial wellness, but I like to say, it's kind of like, it's a big fish in a small pond. And we have good economics on our retention metrics, especially for wellness apps, which tend to die off after the first 30 days. And, the fact that we're 60% male audience, I think is a key differentiator, and that's holding up on mobile as well. Android XR, I think, is going to be a really big tipping point. We're one of 24 launch partners on day one on the Muhan device, but also everything that we're doing works cross-platform. So we can bring our assets into mobile, into AR, and so the Android XR development efforts for AR glasses is well underway, as well as we look at how do we update for Xreal, how do we go audio only. So one of the things that we're super excited about is, let me just jump to it. We just launched a phone number that you can call and talk to our AI directly. Kokua is the Hawaiian word for support. I'm Hawaiian, that's why I got the weird first name. But
Also cousins with Keanu Reeves.
he was our first check-in, so and also our last check-in. So,
nice.
It's funny because I was also an early investor in Oculus, and I worked with the founding team at a cloud gaming company called Gaikai that Sony bought. It is so interesting when you think about how your career sets you up for, now I feel this is my life's mission. This is why I was working at a company that deployed GPU in the cloud when everyone thought we were nuts, right? And now you see, in order to facilitate these really rapid smart glass transactions, even if they're audio, for them to be personalized, we must have a really strong edge, or at least be able to triangulate with the local GPU, which, initially will be the phone, which is why the investment in mobile. So we like to think of it as layered reality. You have the audio support, you can call Kokua on the phone, and I believe a lot of the AI conversations in the near future are going to happen in the car, where you have this container of safety and you can just talk. And there's all kinds of ways that we can analyze biometric data, even from the quality of the voice, beyond the semantic inputs coming in. But then you can have the augmented assist. And I think the static overlays will be helpful, but we can do some really cool things like visualize your breath like we do in VR, but do that in AR. So it's like particles as we detect. Imagine like the near future, detecting through access to the eye trackers, your pupils, stress levels, prompt someone to take a breather. Detect cognitive load, prompt them to take a break in the factory before errors start happening. So this integration of the bio signal is really important. And I can talk.
Nanea, let me just hop in because we have 7 minutes with Mercedes left, and I want to make sure you get a chance to answer your questions here.
Sure. But one thing I do want to say before that is the platform, the way we bring an interface with AI services is very proprietary, and it builds context. And so we can slot in any of those signals in. And this is where I think the magic really happens. So the device can be anything. It can be a listening pendant. It can be earbuds. It can be
All right,
speakers.
Danae, I love you. All right. Let's
All
have
right,
Mercedes
all
go
right.
ahead and ask the
I
question.
can talk about it all day long.
I know you could. Right.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, so the pivot into kind of, and maybe you don't want to call it a pivot, but in terms of the addition, the layering of the kind of AI phone call for mental health, I guess, is that something that you expect will end up being people's primary and first experience with your company?
You know,
And
it's that I have shared it with a few people who said, Nanea, this is going to be your biggest moneymaker. And we start monetizing it next week with early tests, but it's live now. You can call it. And yeah, we think that's one of the main channels in, because you can advertise the number directly anywhere.
right.
Right.
There's a lot
There's
more
no barrier.
easier conversion funnel than your other product.
Yep, no app download, no registration. We automatically create the account off the detected phone number.
And for that product, do you need to have, and then maybe you might have had this for your prior products, is there a certain licensing that you need for kind of mental health advice to be?
We don't make any claims. You think of it more like wellness and wellness support. We're very cautious.
Okay.
That we work very close with the mental health community. We just got 2 NIH grants this year, and this is 2 of 3 that we've had in the past, and we're very well researched. But I believe in order to make any kind of therapeutic claims, you need to have a tremendous amount of evidence.
Yeah.
And, but so we stay in that category of wellness. It's more like a support tool, and we've built a lot of hardening on the edge to identify unhealthy attachments. We're implementing something we call touch grass mode, where Kokua will start to identify that you're getting, you're spending too much time with it, and tell you to take a break, and we'll even, force that break.
Got it. Okay. And
No, go ahead. Sorry.
the one of the other things I was going to ask is for the AI voice companion, as you were kind of training your model, was there certain, or maybe, I don't know if you built your own model or if you leveraged one of them and then did some tweaks on top, like
we have multiple models we interface for different qualities. So that's the beauty of our platform, mediates between, and we're already doing R&D on some of the voice-to-voice ones. I'm an investor in Sesame, and so I'm waiting for them. The current version of Kokua, you can speak any language because 11 Labs has that support. So I've been texting Brendan going, let's get going, because the voice-to-voice is a game changer.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. That's great to hear of some of the different ones. I know people like Cortesia as well. And okay, that's super helpful to hear. I think like one of the key things of this ends up becoming, what is that first minute experience, and how you capture the user very quickly. They're going to discern like, I want to continue this or not. And then how you train your model, what parameters you really end up emphasizing for kind of what is the taste of the model that you need it to hit the right kind of tone in that first minute. Curious if there's anything you've really
yeah, so that's such a good point. And I'm going to hop on after and talk I'm going to take that right into my next meeting with my team, because I feel like we've got the current version is all the plumbing working, like the follow-up text message, so that we can monetize the summaries, the account balance, all of that. The onboarding, I think, is still very clunky, but we can tune that. We have a killer app feature that's launching in about a few weeks, but you'll need to be a mobile subscriber to create your own voice clone, so you can hear yourself, be supportive of yourself. And we launched this on VR, and we have seen our engagement increase significantly with our AI by being able to talk to yourself. So this is something we're rapidly getting out. We'll create a little web user interface as well, so someone can create it there. But I think that will be a key driver of the stickiness of that first minute. If we can get them into creating that right away, because there's something really profound about hearing yourself be empathetic and compassionate. And it does hit different parts of the brain, the self-referential parts of the brain. So that is a feature I'm really excited about. I want to get out very quickly. It's worked beautifully on the MetaQuest device.
Great. Super interesting. Thanks for sharing so much of that.
Yeah, thank you, Mercedes. And I really appreciate you coming and representing for the community. It is always, I mean, not to, throw the gender thing out there, but it is, I know as a founder, walking into a room to see female VCs on the other side of the table, it lets me know when I go in the room that the company, supports someone who looks like me, who's not necessarily, the standard.
Linnea, I'm not a woman and I support you. What do you mean?
Well,
I'm a huge Linnea fan.
No,
I'm the number one.
Linnea, and we all know the stats of the small percentage of dollars that go to female founders. So thank you for that. And really exciting new developments for your company.
Thank you so much. It was great to do this. Thanks for jumping me in, Donna. I appreciate it. All right.
Linnea's been 30 million of those dollars. Yeah, she's done really well with this business so far. All right, I'm going to bring everyone up here and then we'll wrap up because we're at time here. Mercedes, thank you. Thank you for coming. I hope everyone, there's about 150 people there. They're streaming it now. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Eddie as well. Thanks for helping cover this if you're here. Mercedes, we always ask everyone, I've done 100 of these events over the last 18 months, but we just started live streaming them in the last 2 weeks. But I asked this to every person that's ever come. And so I'll ask this to you as our wrap up question. What's your number one bit of advice that you can give to founders?
Mike, you're going to have to give me some warning on this, but number one piece of advice for founders is figure out what AAA talent looks like. And the more you can turn talent recruitment into the largest game that you play of any of the roles that you and hats that you wear at your startup, the better off your company will be, because the difference between having 5 AAA people at the start and the direction and trajectory your company will be on, of even having like 3 of them be B or maybe 1 of them being a C player, is just so vastly different. You will be on this trajectory versus this trajectory. It doesn't seem very a big difference in the beginning, but that compounds over years, which will land you in very, very different places. And I think I just don't see nearly enough founders having an obsession over what AAA talent looks like for each role. Like just going out to the greats of the greats of the greats and breaking down the characteristics of what makes greatness in that role. And then like not being okay with anything less until you're able to get it.
That was awesome advice. That was the first time we've heard that, actually, and I've had 100 people answer that question, so that's a really good answer. And it's
called "Founders Are Chief Judges of Talent," and it is. I think it's one of the, over my 6 years in venture and working with some of the fastest growing, highest market cap companies. It's the one thing I've seen separate the difference from who makes it to who becomes, Robinhood, or who becomes a firm or Snapchat versus who doesn't. It's a laser obsession over great, great, great talent.
Wow. All right. On that note, also, I don't know who keeps taking photos, but that's hilarious. Thank you. On that note, Mercedes, let's clap it up for you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thomas, Larry, Linnea, Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're going to hop off.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye, everyone. Thanks so much for raising the fund.
Of course, Mercedes. Thanks again for doing this. Bye, everybody. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for tuning in. We're going to do another one of these with X Fund in a few weeks. And then we have another one, I think, next week as well. For those of you that want some of the free gifts I talked about earlier, those are absolutely available. I'll show you the website to go to right now, and you can get those. Okay, so there's this free checklist here if you want this. It took me a while to build, but the checklist is at vcnetworking.com/members. VC networking, like venture capital network. I think it's also, it's on my X profile. But yeah, this is super helpful for founders that want to understand, like, how do you actually go through a fundraise process properly so that you don't look silly. And then there's also a free community you'll get invited to join us as well afterwards. Adios.